10 interesting things about World War II. You might be unsure. On December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii without being seen. Even though it's been 81 years, we still think of the attack as when the United States officially joined World War II. Most people can tell you the important dates and facts about World War II. But did you know that Britain had the fewest rations in Europe and that Germany had a unique plan for its aviation? Assis. Fun facts galore reveal a lot of previously hidden information about conflicts. You might be unsure. The UK's most important need is for people to work there. It's hard to believe that Britain put most of its fighting power into its air and naval forces before the war. The British Empire didn't realise it would need a much bigger army until France fell. During the war, Britain alone made 132,500 planes. This is a fantastic feat, especially considering that Fighter Command never had more than 750 planes at any time during the Battle of Britain. Second, only 1% of the Allied merchant ships were lost. Only 1.48% of Allied ships during World War I were lost in the North Atlantic, the Arctic, and their own waters. There were 320,390 different trips, and 4,786 of them sank. There were 2,562 British ships among them, but on any given day, there were only about 2,000 British ships at sea. Even though some people had to go through a lot, most convoys were safe. Third, France had more soldiers, weapons, and armor than Germany in 1940. Many people think that the Germans won World War II because their army and air force were far more advanced and mechanized than anything the Allies had in May 1940. In reality, World War II was very different. When the Germans attacked on May 10, 1940, only 16 of their 135 divisions were mechanized or had motorized transport. The rest was done with horses, wagons, and our feet. France has 117 divisions, all on its own. France had 7,378 pieces of artillery, while Germany had 10,700. Germany also had 2,439 tanks. Unlike the 3,254 French soldiers, who were mostly. They were bigger, had better armor, and were stronger than German panzers. Britain had the fourth least amount of rationing in all of Europe. At the start of the war, neither France nor Great Britain had food rationing. France fought back until June 1940, when they were finally taken over. In Britain, however, it was slowly taking hold by January 1940. On the other hand, Germany started rationing before the war. It had a hard time feeding its soldiers and civilians during the war. Even in the cities of France, people were hungry because the country wanted food from the areas it had taken over. Some things were rationed, but many others were not. Because of this, the British people never went hungry. By 1945, Britain had it pretty easy compared to the rest of Europe. Field Marshal Alexander was the most experienced leader on the battlefield during the war. He came in at number 5. By the war's end, everyone in Britain knew who Marshal Alexander was, but his fame had gone down. Before he was in charge of all Allied forces in the Mediterranean, he was in charge of forces in the Middle East and 2 army groups. He had a great career and was the only officer in the war who led soldiers of all ranks on the front lines. Sixth, the Japanese had kamikaze rockets during World War I. The Japanese had a hard time keeping up with American and British technology. Still, they made the Oka or cherry blossom, a rocket-powered, human-guided anti-ship missile that was used as a kamikaze weapon at the war's end. After their first victories, it wasn't just the Germans who flew rocket-powered planes. Even though Oka pilots were called Gree or Thunder Gods, they could only sink 3 friendly ships. Even though they worked hard and gave up a lot, they didn't get much. Seventh, there was a difference between the Allies and the Germans' fighter aces. The Luftwaffe did something very different with their aces. Pilots had to fly for long periods without stopping, and they also had to shield their leading shocks to help them get high points. On the Eastern Front, where Soviet planes were poorly equipped and poorly trained, the best pilots quickly racked up a huge number of kills, 352. B.B. Hartmann was the best ace of all time, with 38 kills raw face. James Johnny Johnson was the best Ally ace during the war. The number 8 jacket from American Parsons was made with comfort in mind. After the U.S. 5th Division tried it out in exercises in the Midwest and Alaska in the summer and fall of 1940, the M41, also known as the Parsons jacket, became the standard field tunic of the U.S. Army and the one most soldiers wore. This was used for the first time in 1941. and the name of the divisional commander, Major General Parsons, was put on it. The VA fighter plane that went missing is number 9. At the same time, Messerschmitt was building the Bf 109, Heinkel came out with the He 112, and the all-metal monoplane fighter. Early versions of both planes had similar speeds and rates of climb. The Me 109E, which later became Meerschitt's fighter, and then He 112E, could both go faster than 350 miles per hour. The latter could go up 20,000 feet in 10 minutes. The He 122 would have been a great companion for the Me 109, and its range would have helped in the Battle of Britain and other situations. Germany didn't have many cars and trucks, 10. Even though Mercedes Autobahns and Grand Prix wins. German propaganda said that the army of the Third Reich was very advanced and had a lot of machines. In 1939, Germany was one of the countries in the West that didn't care much about cars. From Germany when the war began, there were 47 people for every car. This number was 14 in the UK, 8 in France, and 4 in the US. This meant that the German army moved mainly on foot, with horses, and in carts. In May of 1940, only 16 of the army's divisions were made up of tanks. More importantly, there were fewer factories, shops, gas stations, and drivers in general because there weren't as many cars. Our list of 10 less well-known facts about World War II is over. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe.